Keep up alive here. This is going to be a little bit different video since you normally see me talk about audio. We're going to talk a little bit about the Toyota engine here. We have a 2AZ, I think it's an FE. Essentially it's a 2002 2.4 liter Toyota engine with a dual overhead cam. You can see that we have the intake cam with VVTi, which is basically variable valve timing. Oil pressure is pushed into here and it can advance or retard the timing, so that way you can get either more power or better fuel economy, and then obviously a separate exhaust cam. I had originally, about 2.5 years ago, I took the head off because this engine has a known problem similar to aluminum block Cadillac motors, where the back three head bolts shear off. Essentially, they have a piece of rubber back here that insulates the intake plenum, stores some heat. We have uneven heating of the block. Those bolts literally shear out of the block, take the aluminum threads with them. The fix for that's about $400. It's a kit you bolt onto the block after you take the head off, and you drill out all new head bolt holes, and then you do a time insert, carbon steel insert, and put new head bolts on. So I did that 2.5 years ago. Honestly, the engine ran better since. However, I had one spot right back here where the cylinder head meets the block, meets the timing cover, at the exact same area where the power steering pump wedges between the cover and the block. And that little area was a trifecta of problems. Eventually, it basically caused a slight oil leak, and after 2.5 years, I got tired of dealing with it. Couple things to keep a note: if you have to take this timing cover off, and really take this in all, took me about 13 hours to take it down to the block the first time, about 12 hours to reinstall. Never done it before. Just kind of plugging through the manual. Didn't really run into any snags, but it was a long weekend. This time, taking my time a little bit more carefully. If you're going to be taking this stuff apart, it works good to have little bags. You can label what you take all your bolts off, group things up accordingly, keep things logical. The valve timing cover has to have the bolts put back in the right spot, so draw yourself a little map. When you're talking and looking at the cover itself, the problem area we're talking about is kind of right in here. This is where the tensioner for the timing belt goes, and this is also where the power steering pump mounts. So you can see the cover is actually applying that pressure, has an opportunity to get that a little wonky. There is no gasket made for this. You have to build it out of RTV. So Permatex RTV Black is what's recommended to be used. It overlaps the oil pan a little bit here. You have to follow those instructions very carefully. In my 12-hour straight effort to reassemble this, I did not let this adequately sit. So when you make this gasket, follow the instructions, make sure you let a skin build on it for the amount of time required before assembly, and finger tighten, and then wait the appropriate amount of time before you actually torque it to spec. That'll allow the gasket to set, and hopefully you don't have the same problem that I have. In order to loosen this engine, to get the ability to lift it up, you will have to take motor mounts off. There's a motor mount there that also helps to be taken off. Then you can raise and lower the motor accordingly, and that gives you access to actually get everything out of the bottom of the motor. Obviously, if you're not going to drop the pan like I didn't, you're going to have to make sure you catch and filter anything that might fall down in there. Best thing to do is when you're all done, drain the oil again and get all that crap out of there, so that way you can kind of clean it up. That's pretty much it. Follow the instructions, take your time. The water pump, unfortunately, has to come off when you're going to do this, because it does kind of overlap and get in the way. So you do have to drain your oil and you have to drain your coolant. And I took the exhaust manifold off because I wanted to be able to raise and lower the engine, and obviously you can't do that with parts holding it on. So keep track of your stuff. You're going to see I also label all my wire harnesses, so that way I know exactly where wire harnesses go. That was, of course, when I took the head off, so I had a whole mess of wires laying back. But take your time, label, draw pictures, take pictures, draw yourself maps, keep track of where stuff goes. When you're taking the old gasket off, I typically am going to use a can of brake clean. Be very careful if you're going to use something like this, because you can scratch and gouge aluminum. But you can get yourself a Scotch-Brite pad. And Scotch-Brite pad can be cut into strips like what I do, and then you can use that finger pressure and the brake clean to scrub and scour. You need to make sure these surfaces are perfectly clean, almost like you could eat off of them before you even attempt to build a new gasket. Any oil residue or old gasket residue that's left on there is going to prevent the new gasket from fully seating, and then you're going to be right back where you were. So again, take your time, and if you have any questions, let me know. This will work all fine when it's all said and done, and we'll be back in business. Have a great day.